Welcome to Algebraic Expressions. The first part of the video is for grade 7, 8 and 9. Starting with definitions. The part in front of the variable, or the part in front of the letter. Remember, the letter part of the expression we call a variable because it can change. You can substitute any value into it. So the first part is called the coefficient. This is the number that comes in front of the letter. It's called the coefficient, and the letter is called the variable. Of course, the power is called an exponent, and the number that doesn't have a letter is a constant. The number that is on its own without any variable. For question 1, you are asked to count the number of terms, and when you're counting the number of terms, you need to remember that only plus and minus can separate terms. Multiplication and division cannot separate terms. And you also need to remember that fractions count as one term and brackets also count as one term. So let's put that to some application. How many terms do we have in 1.1? In 1.1, because of that plus there, remember, plus and minus can separate terms, so we've got 2 terms. All right, so there we've got, we've got 2 terms. All right, and how many terms do we have here? That's a multiplication. Multiplication does not separate terms. That's a division. Division can also not separate terms. So that means that is just 1 term. Now we look at 1.3. There is an addition there. And we know that addition can separate terms. But because these terms are inside the bracket, even though there is an addition, it doesn't matter because they are inside the bracket. Everything inside the bracket counts as 1 term. Alright, same with the fraction. Even if there's an addition and subtraction, doesn't matter because a fraction also counts as 1 term. Moving on. The next part of the video is for grade 8 and 9 only. So we say goodbye to grade 7s. Alright, in this video, we're going to look at how you can add or subtract algebraic expressions. And you can only add algebraic expression with like terms. Like terms means they have the same variable or letter. If they have the same letter, then you can add them or subtract them. But if they do not have like terms, in other words, if they do not have the same letter, you may not add or subtract them. So looking at 2.1, these 2 terms have the x variable, and that x variable is the like term. Now, because they've got that like term, we can add the coefficients. 2 plus 3 is 5, and remember the like term, you must keep it as it is. 2.2. Which terms can we add? So we can only add these terms, these 2 terms, because they've got the same variable. They've got b. 7a we cannot add because it doesn't have a like term. It's on its own. But these 2 terms have b in common, so we can add and subtract the coefficients. So 2 minus 3 is minus 1b. Remember, we don't have to write the 1. So we'll just say it's minus b. Okay, let's move on to 2.3. Which terms are like? Or which terms have like terms? These 2 terms have like terms. They both have x, y. And also, these 2 are also like because they all, or we could say they have x in common. Alright, starting with 7x squared and minus x squared. Of course, 7 minus 1 is 6. And then we come to the xy like terms. 8 minus 10 will give us minus 2. And of course, the like term is xy. Remember, the like term, you do not change. You must write it down as it is. All right, then we move on to 2.4. Again, there's addition and subtraction here. So we need to look for like terms. All right, terms with the same letter or variable. These two terms are like terms because they both have a. All right, what else? Which other terms are common? All right, this one and that one have d in common. All right, and of course, these one and this one have c in common. Okay, so all those are like terms. All right, so let's simplify the like terms starting with a. 2 minus 5 is negative 3, and the like term is a. The next letter is c. Plus 7 minus 4 will give us positive 3c. The next letter is d, negative 3. All right, so remember that term is like with this one. So negative 3 minus 2 is equal to negative 5d. And finally, we may now simplify the constants or the numbers without the like term. And 11 minus 6 is just positive 5. All right, multiplying the like algebraic expressions is easy because to multiply algebraic expressions, you do not need like terms. It doesn't matter if the letters are the same. Remember, multiplication and division cannot separate terms. So even if the letters are the same, in this case x, y, and z, you could still multiply it together. You do not need like terms for multiplication. So we'll say 2, starting with the coefficients. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 4 is 24. And the letters, because there's multiplication and not addition and subtraction, we could just write them next to each other. So we've got x times y times z, which simplifies to x, y, z. Moving on to 3.2. Okay, let's start with the numerator part of the fraction. The part on top, coefficients are 4 times 3, which is 12. Then we come to a. All right, a we multiply by, if we are multiplying, the exponent rule is you need to add those exponents. So what's 3 plus 4 is 7. And for b again, if we are multiplying, we're going to add the exponents. What's 2 plus 1? It's 3. And that's over 2ab. All right, and of course, now we can simplify the denominator as well. Starting with the coefficients, we always start with the coefficients. 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. And for division, we subtract the exponents. 7 minus 1 is 6. 3 minus 1 is 2. If you do not understand how to subtract exponents, please watch my video on exponents to understand better. All right, for 3.3, we use the distribution rule. Now, the distributive rule states that if you've got a term outside the bracket, you need to multiply that term by all the terms inside the bracket. All right, that's the distribution rule. Okay, so you will first multiply this term by the first term. All right, so let's look at that. Negative times negative is positive. 2 times 3 is 6. X times x squared, just add that 1 to the 2, it'll give you 3. and the y is on its own. Right? Now you multiply it by the second term. Remember we said you must multiply the term outside by all the terms inside. So negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Now we've got a 1 there. 1 plus 1 will give you x squared. And 1 plus 2 will give you y3. And finally, we multiply the term outside the bracket by the last term. Starting with coefficients, negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14. And of course, there's only one x, so x stays, and there's only one y, and y stays, and there's that stat there, and it stays, and that would be your solution. All right, let's come to cubes and squares, and then also roots and square roots and cube roots. Okay, so to simplify, we can expand. So if we expand, remember the square means we need to expand it twice. So we've got 5x15 y to the 9, and we must write this down twice. Again, 5x15 y to the 9. Okay, that 2 means we can expand it twice. Right, and this side, the square, means we can expand it twice. And this side we've got a 3, so we've got a cube, which means we need to expand this 3 times. Okay, that's 1. That's 2. That's the third time. All right. So we have expanded, and now we can simplify further. Starting with coefficients. Remember, we always start with coefficients. 5 times 5 is 25. And we add the exponents if we are multiplying. So 15 plus 15 is 30. Add the exponents again if you're multiplying. 9 plus 9 is 18. Okay, that side we do the same. We start with the coefficients. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. And then of course we add the exponents. So we've got 10 plus 10 for x plus 10, so we've got 30. And for y we've got 6 plus 6, which is 12. 12 plus 6 will give you 18. And what do you notice? We are not done simplifying, because now these two terms are like terms. They both have x30 and y18. You see, they both have x30 and y18. So that means we could simplify. We should simplify further. We could simplify, we could subtract the two terms. So again, starting with the coefficients, 25 minus 8 is 17. And remember the like term of x to the power of 13, y to the power of 18, we can just write as it is. Now we have simplified. Right, let's move on now to roots and cube roots. Starting with the coefficient, the square root of 25 is 5. And the rule is, because a square root has a 2 there, if an invisible 2, the exponents you must divide by 2. So for C, 10 divided by 2 is 5. And for D, 4 divided by 2, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now we come to the cube root part. The cube root of 64 is 4. Of course, there's a video. The video on exponents explains square roots and cube roots too. The cube root of 64 is 4, because 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. And the rule is, because of that 3 there, the exponents of the variables must be divided by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay, that was supposed to be 4. And of course, 6 divided by 3 will give you 2. And because these are not like terms, they're not the same, we cannot simplify this any further. Right? We cannot simplify this any further. So we stop there. That is our solution. Okay. All right. The last part is for grade 9s only. So to grade 8s, we'll excuse you. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, grade 8s. Moving on to simplifying binomials. A binomial is basically 2 brackets with 2 terms inside. Okay, so it's a bracket, 2 brackets. You must multiply 2 brackets that have 2 terms inside. So how do you simplify a binomial? Grade 9 learner, you need to use FOIL. Okay, so let me show you how FOIL works. FOIL means you start with the first terms of both brackets. So you'll multiply the first term of this bracket with the first term of the other bracket. That's what the F of FOIL stands for, the first terms. So if you do that, 2x multiplied by x will give you 2x squared. So we've done the first part of FOIL. Now we come to the O. The O is for the terms outside. All right, the terms outside the bracket. So what are the terms on the outside? The terms on the outside, remember, this is on the far left and this is on the far right. So the far left is outside, this is outside on the left, this is outside on the right. So the O is for the terms outside. So we multiply the terms outside. That's the O for FOIL. And of course, 2x, if we multiply that by 2, you'll get 4x. So the O of the FOIL is covered. And then I is for the inside, okay? Which terms are inside? These 2 are inside. So we multiply those 2. And those will give us negative, excuse me. Those will give us negative 4x. So we multiply the terms inside. That's what the I for FOIL is for. So that's done. And finally, we multiply the last terms, okay? The last terms in both brackets. So that is the last term in that bracket and that is the last term in that bracket. So we multiply them out. Negative 4 times 2 will give you negative 8. And what do you notice? Those 2 are like terms. And as it turns out, they cancel each other out because positive 4 will cancel out negative 4. So your solution will be 2x squared minus 8. Hope that makes sense. So the last part of FOIL would be to multiply the last 2 terms together. Okay. Let's go on to the next last question. And for this question, we also need to apply FOIL. But before we can apply our FOIL, we would first need to expand the bracket twice because of that 2 there, the exponent of 2. So we write the bracket out 2 times. Okay. And once we've done that, we apply FOIL. The first terms, x times x will give us x squared. So that's for the first terms for FOIL. And then the outside terms, negative 7 times x is negative 7x. And next, the inside, that's the I in FOIL. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. And finally, the L for the last terms. So negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. Okay, let me just write that out in black. So negative 7 times negative 7 will give you positive 49. All right, and of course, as you can see, these two are like terms because they both have x. So to simplify, we have x squared. Negative 7 minus 7 is negative 14x. And we add that 49 at the end, and that is our solution. All right, grade 9s. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video. Till next time.